say something of that, have the balanced plate, people will not agree with that.
So when it comes to diabetes, you have to understand that the body does not differentiate between emotional stress, physical stress, mental stress.
I used to notice all those things, and I thought, okay, this is something very dangerous.
So everybody's happy end of the day. But it'll become smooth with practice. People say, but why are you waking up at 4:30 and why are you doing meditation and all this? How does it help? You're still shouting at me. My husband would say, but you're still, reacting. You're not responding. What is the use of this 4:30 ritual?
Hi, everyone. Today we have a special guest. She is Dr. Madhavi. She is nutritionist and gut reset and diabetes reversal coach. She had actually helped many people, I think in thousands, to get their gut and the diabetes reversal thing happening. And she is my first friend when I started my coaching journey. We both were working together in the initial days, and it has been really amazing interacting with her. And today we have her here, and I'm super duper happy to actually record this because we can get the very 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 interesting stuff, especially with respect to the food and the small lifestyle changes that we can make in our lives, which helps not only us but also the family members to actually be more healthy with the small tips and tricks. So welcome, Madhvi. Welcome to this podcast. I'm super
Thank you
thrilled.
so much, Trinity. I'm super excited. As you said, our interaction and connection goes a long, long way, and it's always special to interact with you. And thank you so much for having me here.
So I wanted to ask you, as a working woman and a mother, right? These days we have this scenario where women really wanted to um, be in their career like a gem and also be a very good mother and a caretaker of the home. But when it comes to the health of a woman, they are compromising a little, right? We see this as a major issue in most of the places. And I've seen many women, whoever are my one-on-one clients, I see them are suffering from the diabetes, they are suffering from the PCOD, they're suffering from thyroid, hormonal imbalance, and many more issues. So when I talk to them on the emotional perspective because I know that emotions, they get settled in our body and they turn into the pain, and then later, if that pain is not addressed, it turns into the disease, right? So at least in this lifestyle now, where people are in this hustle and bustle and full of stress, there are lots of changes in the lifestyle and the food habits, and even the food that we are eating, we do not know if it's actually the healthiest one or not.
True.
Right? So I would like you to share some of the aspects or the reasons why people are prone to getting this diabetes at a very early age, because I see that there are many people who are getting diabetes in their early 30s, right? And the reasons for that, and what are the small tips or tricks that they can follow in their home as a simple thing, right? While we are cooking, there could be some of the other things which we can take care of so that these things can be sorted off. So
Well,
can
firstly, I think I completely agree with you. As women, we are breaking barriers. We are achieving great heights in our professional spheres, right? We are all there. And then at the same time, we are performing our responsibilities at home. So this is what is the double, triple burden that we are, each woman, I would say, is a superwoman today, achieving so much, doing so much, much more. And absolutely, one thing that goes amiss is our own health. We always, I think that's something that has been passed on and going on from since generations, that we always end up putting our needs, our care, our nutrition, our health at the backseat, and we always prioritize people around us. So, and in fact, yes, a lot of stress is there, and I'm so glad to know that you address these, signs of stress and help people relieve stress, because we are living through times where there is one aspect of clinical conditions, right? The physiological conditions, but there is also a very, very strong mind body connect, right? So a lot of times the stress that you rightly said gets accumulated in the body, manifests as physiological symptoms. It's your psychology which is driving your physiology. And that is the reason why, there are many clients who come to us who have a lot of issues of pains, aches, issues, but they've undergone a lot of tests. They've done so many, blood tests and stuff and scans, but nothing comes out. And it's purely it's purely psychological, or as we say, somatic issues.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important to address that part. And that is why when I talk about health, I basically look at lifestyle. And for me, lifestyle has 5 main pillars. So health, diet, exercise, activity, sleep, and stress management. So stress management is absolutely important, no matter how much diet or workout you're focusing on. The component of mindfulness and de-stressing is very crucial. And rightly said again, diabetes, India is becoming slowly the diabetes capital of the world. And women, because of their, I would say they have this entire journey in life where they pass through different milestones. And many a times I've noticed that a lot of women during their pregnancy also get exposed to the gestational diabetes. So as compared to men, women, because of their hormonal issues and also because of their, marital life milestones, as I would like to call it, do put themselves at a risk of all these conditions. And diabetes is a lifestyle disorder. Again, there are lots of myths associated with diabetes. Ki maine to cheeni khani band kar di, I don't take sugar, I've shifted to sugar free and kind of stuff. But it is much more than that. And when it comes to diabetes, I always tell my clients that diabetes care model is a triangular model. So there's diet, exercise, and medication. These are the 3 main pillars to say. Now, if you are already on medication, but you're not taking care of your diet and activity component, then, 1/3 element which your doctor is handling is the one which will keep going up. So doctor will keep increasing your medicines dosage because you are not taking care of the 2/3 that is in your control. And therefore, diet and physical activity becomes very, very important. Now, in diet, again, a lot of people feel that I need to be on a special diet if I'm a diabetic, right? I can't eat what my family is eating, which is absolutely wrong. You can eat everything and anything that is being cooked at home. It's just that every time you're serving meals in your plate, make sure that your plate is fully balanced. So if you're eating rice or roti or bread, which is the carbohydrate component, you're also balancing it with some amount of protein, lots of vegetables, so that the fiber protein balances the carb load, as we call it. The glycemic load of the meal has to be less. Also, many a times I've noticed that, people completely go off fat. So fat free or, zero fat diets, again, is a myth, because fat is a very, very important component of a healthy, balanced diet. And yes, there are different types of fats. So instead of using the bad fat or the inflammatory oils, if you're using good fats like ghee or coconut or nuts or seeds in your meal, you're also keeping all your meals in a low glycemic index kind of glycemic load kind of parameter. So that is something that will not increase your blood sugar. So you plan ahead of time that, okay, what is it that I'm having for breakfast? If I'm going to work, what are the kind of mid-morning or mid-evening snacks that I can have? So you can have something like a chaach, which is buttermilk. You could have nuts and seeds as your mid snacks. You could have salads as your mid snacks, or a fruit as a mid meal, right? And then you carry a home cooked meal and come back home, eat a balanced dinner at home, and stay active. Don't be sedentary. Many times, women take up desk jobs and they're seated for long times. So for every 30-40 minutes, get up and walk around. That will break the cycle of insulin resistance. And, you will have to then also, I would suggest that you will also have to take out some window in a day, 30 minutes, 40 minutes window, to do some kind of physical exercise. So you can plan ahead of time, right? So if you are a working professional, then, what is it that you're eating for breakfast? You could carry some mid meals with you. For example, nuts, seeds, a fruit, or maybe salads, or maybe you could have nuts and seeds in your office drawer that, once that finishes, you can always refill. So it's not even important that you on a daily basis pack so many dabbas. You can just plan very, very smartly and keep certain things instead of the biscuits and namkeens and bhujiyas, replace that with a healthy snack and carry a fresh fruit every day. So you could eat it at 11, you could eat it at 5 p.m. in the evening, when the, 4 to 5 is usually called the devil's hour, because that time everybody is ravenous and very, very hungry. And if you're not prepared with something on you at that time, then you end up, using the apps and ordering food from outside. So with diabetes, it is important that you, stay with good meals which are home cooked, because outside food would be cooked in inflammatory oils, or the oil is being used and reused constantly. And inflammation is something which is at the, foundation level when it comes to diabetes. So it's a inflammation based disorder. So it's
Okay.
not just that you're avoiding sugar, you're also trying to be on an anti-inflammatory plan, which is
Mm.
important. But many a times, I think people don't even understand the root causes. They just keep looking at sugar and they start avoiding carbs. But you don't really have to do that. You just need to have good carbs, good fats, and good amount of protein in your plan to have balanced meals.
It was really interesting, and I have many questions now
Yeah.
based on this aspect. When you told about the diabetes during the pregnancy, I think it's very common now. At least 70% of the women are facing this issue, because even I experienced it just for a span of a week. I think so, because when I was in eighth month of my pregnancy, and when I had to travel, it was peak COVID time. I was too much stressful, and the previous day, my every all the reports were very normal, because the glucose test is a mandatory thing, right,
Yeah.
during that time. But when I had to travel, and then I was in a peak stress scenario, my sugar levels went up to 300, if I remember it rightly. So I was very sure that my food was perfect. Like, when, as you told, the plate should be balanced. I was having like good portion of the salad, the sabzi, and the rice, everything. It was in a balanced proportion. But people did not understand that you were doing yoga, you were having right food, but what is that is actually causing that spike. Then I understood that stress could be one scenario, right? And when you told about this plate, balanced plate, can you explain a little more about it? Because in India, especially, whichever I have noticed, we love all the things like South Indian food or North Indian food. We say that this is so yummy, this is so delicious, which we have been following right from many years. What is that you need to change in this? Because these are the healthiest, items which had been cooked over a period of time. So if we say something of that, have the balanced plate, people will not agree with that, right? Because I have been to Nature Cure Center for 10 days or something when my mom was there. I had visited, but she learned so many things there, and we started implementing that at home. So she used
Like
to say
what?
that you need to have for example, curry. You should have it as twice the portion of whatever rice or roti that you're having. The proportion of that should be higher than whatever your carbs are on the plate. So can you explain a little more on that balanced plate which we need to have?
Absolutely. And I just to take this back to the stress thing
Hmm.
that you were talking about, stress has a pathophysiology of its own. So when it comes to diabetes, you have to understand that the body does not differentiate between emotional stress, physical stress, mental stress. Body takes all forms of stress as stress. And the basic mechanism, the basic agenda, I would say, of the body is survival. So the body wants you to survive, right? So every time you are in a state of stress, and if you are doing everything right, even then your blood sugar levels will go up, right? Why? Because body works on glucose. Glucose is nothing but the energy, right? It's the source of energy for the body. And when you are stressed and body is perceiving it as a threat, it starts producing glucose from the stored glycogen, right? So this can get a
Hmm.
little technical. So I'll just make it very, very simple, that many a times when we eat food, whatever amount of food is, whatever amount, the food converts into energy, which is glucose, and whatever amount of glucose is required gets used up at that time, and the rest gets stored, and it gets stored in a form of glycogen, right? In the liver, in the muscles. Now, whenever you are stressed and body is perceiving that as threat, it starts breaking down that glycogen to release glucose in the bloodstream. So you might feel, but then my plate was balanced. I was doing yoga. Now, why is there sugar? It's the glucose basically being regenerated from glycogen. So therefore, as I said, in the lifestyle, 5 pillars of lifestyle, stress management is very important, because even if the other 4 parameters are absolutely, fine, and you are really tracking and monitoring them, but stress is an independent variable. It can undo all the other parameters. So it's very, very important for us to constantly work on de-stressing. We are living through times where we can't really say stress mat lo, because stress is everywhere. But we also need to upgrade our life skills to manage stress. Right. All right. So coming to the plate model, absolutely, I'm a firm believer of the fact that you need to eat what you've grown up eating, and you need to stay with the kind of meals that your mama ate when you were in the tummy, because food is information. And my body is equipped to decode that information from what it understood as food when I was in my mother's womb. So that is the reason I always stick to the philosophy of eat local, eat seasonal, eat traditional foods. Whatever you have grown up eating, that should comprise your majority of the meals, right? Of course, we live in global times now. We travel. We want to have, like, I love South Indian food. So it should always be a ratio of 80-20. So 80% of the time stick to what you've grown up eating, 20% go out there, explore, indulge, and be happy, guilt-free. Because then guilt will again induce stress. So when we are eating the plate, as in when we are dishing out the food in our plate, if I call that the plate model. So what you need to do is divide your plate into half.
Okay.
Half of that plate should have cooked vegetables or, salad. So some amount of cooked vegetables, some amount of salad should comprise the half of your plate. The rest half you further divide into 2 parts, 2 quarters. Okay. The 1 quarter should have any kind of carbohydrate. So it could be rice, it could be roti, bhakri, bread, whatever else, millets that you are having. And the fourth component would be the protein component, which can come from dals, chola, rajma, kadhi chawal, chicken, fish, egg, if you're a non-vegetarian. So in that case, what happens is you're getting enough fiber from the vegetables. You're also getting vitamins and minerals from the vegetables, which are very, very important when it comes to, insulin sensitivity. You're getting good amount of protein, which is important for the body's growth and mechanism. And the carbs, which are the source of energy, are also being met, right? So it's a balance. And because your food is cooked in good quality fat or ghee, or you are having, let's say, idli chutney, coconut chutney with it. So coconut is also a good fat. So the fat component is also taken care of. So the idea is that over a period of time, we've started blaming our traditional meals, but it's not the traditional meals which are wrong. The problem is the proportion in which we've started eating it. So, you would have a little bit of sambar, you would avoid the chutney completely, because you'll say, oh, but that's fat. And then you'll have 4 or 5 idlis. Then the carb load is higher than the protein. There is no fat to reduce the glycemic index. And that is where it begins to take a toll on the body, also because our lifestyle has changed. We've become more sedentary. Our job structure, it's not that we are eating and going into the farm and, working in the farm whole day, and then after 3 hours eating our lunch. We sit in the car, reach the office. In the office, we're served chai, coffee. Then we enter the meeting room. We are again served chai, coffee with some cookies and biscuits. And then, it's lunchtime. So we are just sedentary, and our food really hasn't, reduced. So people keep saying, I mean, the body keeps thinking that it is saving because there will be some starvation or some famine to come. But instead, there is no famine. It's only gluttony, which is, apparent in today's times.
Yeah.
So it's therefore important that you eat small, but eat frequent, So instead of overloading your body at one time, and because I'm a gut reset coach, I also correlate this, because many a times when you eat too much and you are not active, it leads to indigestion. And over a period of time, you're just sitting there, the food is not even getting digested, but the next meal, it's time for the next meal. Your friend has ordered, your colleague has ordered momos in the evening, and you're then eating that also. And that over a period of time starts making your digestive system sluggish. And, in Ayurveda also, we say, pet hi sabhi bimariyon ki jad hai. So gut is the root cause of all ailments. And in fact, modern medical science has now proven that yes, it's the gut microbiome which is responsible for the, proper functioning of the body. And Therefore, it becomes very, very important that you don't overdo the portion sizes at one go. And for anybody who wants to understand the plate model much better, there is a video of mine on YouTube, which has received some 18,000 views because I've actually decoded the plate model formula in that and shared with people how the plate should be. So it's not that you have to be a pre-diabetic or a diabetic to be eating in that manner. Anybody who wants to prevent diabetes should actually be eating in that plate model formula. So the formula is for everyone to see. They can just go to my channel and watch that video.
Yeah, I think that's very important because when you told about the plate and the balance that we need to have, but sometimes I remember I saw many of your videos. So where I've seen that you spoke about the oils and when you told about the oil, at least I remember, at least I see here I use oil very less because I was told by my mom, like she cooks with a little lesser oil compared to whatever my grandmother had prepared. So, what are the basic things that we need to keep in mind with such things? Those are the important things that we use every single day. For example, oil, or it could be some kind of specific vegetables that we need to consume because some people will be having only specific vegetables in their routine, right? It's not, they do not consider everything. So I remember there are many videos of yours considering or like what all things can be made in a simple way. But yeah, please do give some guidance on that aspect as well.
So you tell me, what is the kind of oil that you use at home? What is the
So
quality of oil?
okay, so let me tell you the stages how it had been evolved. So initially, when I was a kid, my parents used to use this sunflower oil, okay, the packed ones.
Yeah.
And then later came to a stage where they have to use the oils as per the season, like they have to change the oils. So that's when they started introducing the coconut oil and the groundnut oil and the sunflower oil. These three were there. And when I shifted to Bangalore, when I started cooking, especially, so I started with groundnut oil. After that, somehow, I love reading about the food, the way we have to prepare. I really enjoy cooking and
Oh,
love
wow.
reading about it. So then I came to know that using olive oil is very good. I started using only olive oil because I have read that it's the best. So I used to get that olive oil and prepare the food in that with that, and then my vitamin D levels have come down. I'm not sure what all factors have contributed to that. It had come to single digit,
Oh my
the
God.
vitamin D.
Okay.
So I was not able to get out of the bed. One day it was like so much horrible that I was not even able to get out of the bed. And next day I had to admit in the hospital and get it sorted. Then I thought that someone told me that only using olive oil you may not get that. And I thought, okay, this is something, it's not clear. Then again, I started reading about certain things. And now, almost from few years, I'm using this groundnut oil, which is the organic one. Some farmers do not use the pesticides and all that, right?
Super.
It's not, it's cold pressed oil. So I use that. And sometimes cold pressed coconut oil. So 80% is all about the groundnut cold press oil, and the rest 20% is sometimes like coconut. I stopped eating
Super.
ghee, like I gave up the dairy products after attending some workshops and after listening to the whole stories and watching documentaries. I thought, okay, let's keep this aside because there are many millets and all that. So through which I can get the other supplements. So that's the reason. This is the oil story in my life.
Right. Wow. So I think, I was thinking that I'll speak about it, but I'm so glad that you shared the entire journey. And rightly so. So I basically recommend that you use the oil that you are, according to the geographical region that you are in. So if I'm in North India, we use a lot of mustard oil. People in the West can use peanut oil or groundnut oil. Down South, you can use coconut oil. And in the East, use, either groundnut oil or sesame seed oil. Of course, you can also rotate the oils based on what is being cooked. So if I'm cooking a South Indian dish and I feel that, some amount of coconut oil will really add to that texture and flavor, I could use that. And similarly, if I'm making Chinese, I can always add a little bit of, sesame seed oil to that. So
Mhm.
that's absolutely permitted and based on the travel. So a lot of people who are maybe South Indians, but living in North India, so if they're making that traditional dish, they can use coconut oil. And if they are eating something which is like the regular, the dal chawal stuff of North India, then they can use the mustard oil. So we should be using the cold pressed kachi ghani, as it is called, those kind of oils. Ghee is very, very good. So ghee should be used. Of course, if you have certain, ideology and philosophy that you're following and you're avoiding the dairy products, you want to avoid that. But then for majority of the people who feel that they are lactose intolerant, and that is the reason they don't want to have milk, I just want to say here that milk that they don't want to have ghee. Ghee is actually lactose free, right?
Okay.
So it's clarified butter. So even if you're lactose intolerant, you can consume ghee. It is good for you. So these are the kind of fats that one should be eating. Now, I'm so glad that you brought up the thing about olive oil. Now, olive oil is something which the food and fitness industry promotes big time. However, olive oil is not meant for Indian cooking, because if you notice, Srinidhi, that majority of our cooking also happens at high temperatures. We do all
Correct.
the tempering and tadka and what all. So olive oil has a very low smoking point. And that's the reason there was this entire marketing campaign that said, oh, this variety of olive oil is more suited for Indian cooking. But even if that variety is better off than original olive oil or the extra virgin olive oil, it is still nowhere close to the smoking points of our, mustard oil or ghee and groundnut oil. So ideally, you should not be cooking in olive oil. Of course, if you're making some pastas and stuff and salad dressings and you want to drizzle it on the top, that's great. The only thing that you need to keep in mind is that do not put it on flame. The rest,
Yeah.
olive oil is a good variety of fats that should be used, and always keep rotating, like you said, that based on season, based on recipes, based on what flavors you want to enhance. So you could use a variety of oils so that you get all the kind of, nutrients and micronutrients from that. So that's absolutely doable.
Okay.
And for people who feel that coconut is bad, coconut is saturated fat, there was this 2 decades actually where coconut was demeaned. It was said to be bad because it's saturated fat. Ghee was said to be saturated fat and said, any fat that gets solid at room temperature in winters is bad for us. Andar bhi jaake wo jam jata hai. But nutrition science is an evolving science, and nutrition science has said that any amount of dietary fat does not lead to cholesterol increase in the body. So
Okay.
and so we can and we should be using these fats. What we should be avoiding are the inflammatory vegetable oils or the packaged processed food items that we open and start eating chips and cookies and namkeens out of, because that is trans fat. Now that is a bad kind of fat which will cause all sorts of health issues. So that is something that we need to really avoid. In fact, what has started happening is that we don't eat the coconut, we avoid the ghee on the roti, and now there's a trend of adding ghee to your coffee and having bulletproof coffee in the morning. So
Oh,
these are, this is where pharma and fitness industry actually it kind of makes us take away the taste and flavor from our wholesome meals, but starts promoting those individual ingredients as superfoods in some other format, which is wrong. So that shouldn't be done.
okay. This is something new for me when
Don't tell me you've not heard of bulletproof coffee.
I did not.
Butter coffee is something which is ghee coffee or butter coffee, something that we have in Tibet and, in the Himalayas. There are
Okay.
communities that have that because it keeps you warm and nice and it's good for you. But now then when we're talking about globally, there is this trend of MCT coffee and bulletproof coffee with, medium chain triglyceride fat put into it and blended in the morning, and everybody on an empty stomach is having a bulletproof coffee. So
I heard about, I had warm, lukewarm water with 1 or 2 spoons of ghee added in it when I had the pain in my abdomen, but I did not hear about this. Okay, this is something new to me.
it's a
But when I
full-fledged industry.
Oh, okay. And how about, like I learned that the dairy products. let's come to this milk, curd. Even nowadays, even the pediatricians are saying that you should not give milk to the kids, right?
Mhm.
But I remember the days when my mom used to force me to drink the milk to have the protein, the vitamin A, and the calcium. She used to really push me, but I hate milk. I used to hate milk,
Okay.
but I love eating ghee. I used to have lots of ghee and curd. But now, after reading so many things, I thought, okay, let's give up this milk, curd, ghee, everything. But I have this A2 cow ghee for my son. So can you just decode a little bit on that? Like how to choose? Because in the market, if we enter the supermarket, we could see the wide range of food item, like food products. And how do we really choose them? Because each brand has some different thing on it. And I remember my mom used to prepare the ghee at home when I was in Hyderabad during COVID time. But now, at least for working women who cannot prepare ghee at home because it's little time consuming, or they'll have to spend at least 5-10 minutes every day to remove the cream, to add the cream in a separate bowl and
True.
all that stuff. So it takes little time, right? So for people who do not want to get into that all those things, how do we actually select those products?
See, that's true. We want convenience, and when we want convenience, we have the industry catering to that convenience with a lot of choices, and we end up, getting very, very confused.
Mm.
So, to avoid milk or not to avoid, and contrary to your family, we in my family we're all milk lovers. So we want our morning milk, or we want to have a mug of hot milk before we sleep. So that is an individual preference, I would say, unless that you are lactose intolerant and it's a clinical
Yeah, we used
condition
to
which is
have milk,
proven.
like everyone has milk. It's just that I stopped from
Yeah.
last 2-3 years after listening to so many stories.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
some people I know of or have also gone off dairy because they feel that the cattle is being tortured and their hormones.
Yes.
So I think I would leave that to the individual and their own ideology and feelings towards that. But the when you're talking about the kind of fat, the kind of milk, then I would say the milk has to be something which is near to the source. So basically, anything which says fat free, 2% low fat, 7% low fat are the kind of stuff which is processed, because that's something that does not occur in nature, right? Full cream milk occurs in nature, which is closer to how the milk is at source. So try and have that kind of milk. There's no need to have Tetra Pak milks, which are, UHT processed and long life kind of milk, again, in the name of convenience. But then since I've been in this field for over 20 years now, I've really seen, I've literally witnessed with my own eyes of how, these kind of processed milk items and the long shelf life milk, especially, has actually made people lactose intolerant, right? So there were these people who are okay with milk, but 5 years, 7 years on long shelf life kind of tetra packed milks, they now cannot digest milk. So it's important that we keep it as natural as possible. And if you know of any dairy farm which is close by where you feel that the milk is ethically sourced and you like milk, so with all variables to your satisfaction, you can definitely have milk if you feel that you resonate with the hygiene of that place, or you resonate with the way the cattle are being raised, fed, and treated. So if you feel that is doable, great.
Hmm.
And if you feel that no, but I don't have such kind of a source which is accessible to me, and I would want to stay put with a commercial milk item, great. But personally, I don't want to get into this debate of A2 milk versus this milk, because it's once to its own, and nothing actually is proven. So it's like a passing trend. We still need more research on it in terms of understanding what is good and what is not. But I would leave all that to an individual. A lot of people even have taste preferences, so they would say, we don't like the taste of full cream milk, there's too much oil floating on the top, we want the cow milk, which is better. I like buffalo milk, which is better than cow milk. So I think once to its own. So go by what works for you. Don't get brainwashed with the fact that, oh, 2% is better, toned is better, full cream is bad. All that is something which is not authentic information, and that's the reason I call my brand Informed Health, because there is information out there for people to read, but who is saying that this information is authentic? right? So you need to be at a level of awareness, understanding, and maturity to even ask the right questions to get the right information. There are clients who come to me and say that, my I checked online, my BMI should be this much, and my BMI is currently this much. So I want to work one on one to bring my BMI down. And I tell them right in the beginning that, did you even know that BMI is an obsolete parameter? It is only looking at your height, only looking at your weight. It is not even taking into account your muscle mass, your body composition for that matter. So, I mean, it's just the weighing scale, and weighing scale is something that I don't even track when it comes to the progress of my clients, because there are more important parameters of health and fitness. How are your energy levels? Are you sleeping well? Do you have cravings? Are your hormones balanced? Is your gut working fine? Do you have mood swings? Are you always irritable? Do you get migraines? I mean, this would give me a bigger insight into your health status than a number, which is, if I put a log of wood or newspaper, would also give me a number, right? So
Yeah.
we should not degrade ourselves to numbers. We are much more than our weight.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to know that because at least these years, from the time at least from 7 or 8 years, I've been following on this diet and all this more
Okay.
because of my mom's health when I was in intermediate, so around 2009, 2010. Right. So from then I heard about the sugars, the salt, oils. There were many things which I had been exposed to and where I had learned a few things from the naturopathy center where I told the so there I also heard about this sugar when you told it initially, cutting down the sugar. Even I'm the person who cut down the sugar completely and relying on the jaggery just because of the like there are many things that we hear about it, right? Lots of refining that happens and the kind of processing that we see while the sugar is the final thing. So I mean that thing has actually sat in my head that it's not good. Let's just keep it aside. So I started eating jaggery more and honey, a little of honey.
But
So
here in this case, you can at least see the sugar, right? But
yeah.
there are these food items where we have hidden sugars.
True. When you told the
So,
processed food, then the oil, the sugar, the
and the
salt, the
salt.
sodium, I think the levels are too high. And when I think 2 years or 2.5 years back, when I started learning about the food labels, then after seeing that, I completely cleared my kitchen where I used to have very less
Yes,
of that junk, I can say. But now it's like almost zero, so that I'm so sure that if it is in the environment we
absolutely.
automatically will be tempted to eat them
That's
because
the point I
I
wanted to actually emphasize, that you've really, hit the bull in its eye, because I feel that for anybody for that matter, whether you have PCOS, you have diabetes or thyroid, it is not about what you know and how you are implementing it, but unless you clean the environment in your house, you stack the right kind of options in you. If there is already bhujia, namkeen, biscuits, cookies, and you are hungry and you've come back from work tired, I mean, you can't really even forget cook something healthy for yourself. So you will open the cupboard, pour some bhujia in your katori and start munching on that. And all these packaged processed foods are actually chemically engineered to hit the right centers in your brain, and you can't really stop at a small quantity, and then you just feel that something has overtaken me, and I wanted to stop at that 2 spoons, but I just finished the entire bowl.
I experienced that, I experienced that many a times because when I feel too stressed I have my kitchen like 3 4 years back with a nice laddus or some sweets so that I love eating the sweets. So with the ghee, like proper sweets. So I used to have boxes stacked up, like at least 2 boxes. Whenever I go to home, like Hyderabad, and then I go back to Bangalore, I used to have those things. And immediately I used to go to the kitchen, stack up fully, fill that completely in my tummy whenever I feel stressful. And then I notice that this is something dangerous for me. And then again, I slowly started avoiding them. And then I started having, sometimes, we tend to get some of the different, I love Haldiram's bhujia. So I used to get that big pack. And I remember the days I used to sit in my workplace, I used to finish the entire pack. Remember, I used to eat sometimes, not every
God.
time, but when I was super stressful, if I had
Yeah.
to sit and work for 16 hours, 17 hours, I used to do that. And later I used to feel that energy drop in my body. I used to be not that active, not that
That
light.
brain
I sit
fog
up,
hits
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. I used to notice all those things, and I thought, okay, this is something very dangerous. And now, after this awareness or learning about it, and also about the oils and stuff, I think things have changed so much. The kitchen, especially, when you told about the rice and all, I started having brown rice. Then I heard many concepts about the brown rice, and I thought, okay, let's keep brown rice, some millets and stuff. And during my pregnancy, I started to follow more, and you have actually covered those topics. Now I'm just trying to connect all those
But I
dots.
just want to say that I want to put a little asterisk here and say that
Mm,
two things that you've said, I mean, we can agree to disagree on certain things as well
mm,
in our interaction today. That I am not against the homemade laddus and the millet laddus or the nut laddus. I am
mm.
in the favor. However, what I also, emphasize upon is the moderation. So you
Yeah,
can't be, so it's not that you have to completely indulge or completely give up.
true,
You have to have that range of, in between, that you have it in moderation. It's good for you. It's way better than any kind of commercial mithai.
true.
So that was number one. And there's another thing that you spoke about, brown rice. So I personally, all my clients, me, my family, we don't advocate, I don't advocate brown rice to anyone.
Mm,
Yes, I do recommend, hand pounded single polished rice maybe, but not definitely extremely processed rice. And I big time recommend millets. So
mm,
millets are good. And again, diversity is important in our meals. So some days you can have rice, some days you can have different kinds of millets. And millets also, there's a lot of variety. The small millets and the regular seasonal options that we have. And of course, then there is wheat. Now, these days, there is again a complete, thing about wheat is bad, gluten is bad, go gluten
yeah,
free.
gluten
So I
free.
think my keyword here would be moderation. People should not get fearful of food. People should not feel that, oh, I need to completely eliminate this, because food is much more than, unless you have some kind of a, intolerance, which is a, threatening, life threatening kind of a situation. But in the name of fad, or in the name of passing trends, you should not play havoc on your body, simply because, 12 years I was not in India. And when I came back, after 15 years, in fact, I realized that every nook and corner, there were these fertility clinics that had popped up. And I kept asking myself that, what is wrong with people? Why are there so many IVF clinics and fertility clinics? I mean, why is it that so many women need fertility clinics these days? Because conception is something which is very natural, right? I mean, that's the
Yeah.
way evolution has been. And being a nutritionist, when I was diving into, when clients were coming to me and we were doing the diet history and the diet recall, with clients, we realized that, my God, they were all off fat. So there was this entire trend. I remember when I was abroad, that time the supermarkets were flooded with low fat cheese, no fat cheese, low fat yogurt, 2% milk, and all this, fat-free butter and all
Mm.
this kind of stuff. Oh my God, which is completely processed, right? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that doesn't exist in nature. I've never heard of low-fat cheese and fat-free, low-fat margarines. In fact, they are called margarines, right? It's not even butter. It's like a synthetic kind of trans fat loaded stuff. So that is when I realized that 2 decades of brainwashing, of telling people fat is bad, go off fat, fat is bad, go off fat. There's so many research papers, there's so many studies now that have proven this fact, that those 2 decades of the fat being the villain actually has led to fertility issues, has led to so many health concerns. And now when we look at the trends in the dietary domain, the fat is again come back. The keto diet is like good. Everybody's saying you must add ghee. Ghee has become the new, gold, I would
Yeah.
say. It's like a jewel. People are going gaga over clarified butter. So I think it's important that we stay grounded in our traditional, philosophy of food, because the entire world today is looking at Indian culinary practices and Indian food model. The Indian banana leaf model, the Indian thali model is what everybody is looking at. We have our honorable prime minister who has actually, I think 2023, 2022 was also the year of millets. So he's actually promoting the millets, and millets come from India, yoga comes from India. So it's important for us to take pride in our wisdom, in our culture and rich heritage, rather than following these trends, because these trends will benefit and really profit the industry and the manufacturers, but leave us unhealthy. The kind of issues that people have gone through in the name of go fat free, and they are, seeking fertility, assistance and stuff, the test. It's not just physiological, it's a lot of mental stress.
Yes,
And then
that's
to
true.
undergo steroids and all the kind of, medication for that. I mean, it also brings with it its own baggage of side effects.
Yeah.
So I personally feel keep it simple, do not complicate it, have everything, have it in moderation, and eat in gratitude, because like I always say that Annahi Param Brahma, food is the greatest blessing. So if you eat it with that mindset, nothing will happen to you. In fact, only good can happen, right?
Yeah, true. That's true, because even I have been hearing, learning, not hearing, but learning from many of the extraordinary people. For example, Dr. Joe Vitale, Joe Dispenza. So these are the
Yeah.
senior most people in the self-help industry, right? So I've been learning that when we operate from the zone of gratitude, and also, I heard that story of a man who smokes to cleanse his own body, just because of the mindset and the kind of ritual he had built around it. So I think it's very important for anyone to have that right mindset, and have the food by having that gratitude that,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
in fact, it's Dr. Joe Dispenza who's also written this wonderful, wonderful book called You Are the Placebo. So it
yeah,
basically says that it
yeah,
is in your mind. You are the person who can have the poison also, but if you feel that it's doing good to you, you won't die.
true.
So that's the power of mind. So we
Mind.
can't, I think we just don't look at sleep. We don't look at mind with the kind of the kind of importance that we should be giving to these two aspects of lifestyle. I mean, sleep is something which is very, very undervalued,
Yeah.
and mind and synchronicity, and the importance of mind and body, and is completely. I mean, I'm glad that there are coaches like you who are working on this, because otherwise people just look at the tangible. People don't understand that the tangible actually originates in the intangible.
That's true. That's true. Because, like, when we have spoken again, coming back to this, so the when you told about the nuts, the oil, the balanced plate, I think it's very important, especially our topic of working women and the diabetes thing which we are talking today. I think it's very important for everyone to understand the plate model. I think I'll just post that link in the description, so that everyone can have a look at that plate model and start. Actually, it's very simple to keep our food and our bodies clean and healthy. So I think we need to consider that plate model very seriously. I'll also go back and watch it again, and because kids learn from us, so I think it's very good
True. We
to
are
start
the
doing
role
that.
models, right? We can't
Yeah,
be telling, like, I always tell my clients that children don't do what you tell them to do. They do what they see you doing.
true.
So as parents, I think we have to do the right stuff, no matter how much, we want to deviate and we want to break free. But since we are in this role, we have to follow that.
Yeah, I think learning is very important in this aspect because of the market trends. Because I remember reading a book of Indra Nooyi, and I remember that the food that they prepare, the food products that they make, when you told, it hits the right points in our mind so that we get addicted. I think we need to be really aware of the food labels, the tags that they attach to it, so that we don't get tempted to them. Rather, try to find the right alternative from our traditional things, For example, when I told laddus, for example, the Haldiram laddus or some stored laddus, you read backside what exactly are there,
So,
because they say that what is that called, anti-baking something, I think for the food not to get spoiled or to
yeah,
get that
preservatives.
yeah, lots of preservatives. They specify one word, so I'll just check that. So I think we should identify those words and stay away from that. And I think having the right kind of food prepared at our home, or at least nearby.
Or
Okay.
you could also look for, there are a lot of small women's cooperatives.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
these, I think those are good options to source these kind of stuff. You're also giving them, financial support and nurturing such things. And plus, you're also getting health in return. So I think
True.
that's a good option.
Yeah, that I think that really works. And uh, for working women especially, I think we need to consider these aspects so that we can actually keep our life very simple, having nuts, as you told, at the office desk. I used to do that when I was
And
pregnant.
I personally feel, as for working women, if we do a little bit of meal preparation, or if we make certain things which can be the foundation of a curry, let's say, for instance, some kind of masala that we can just quickly make and stack for 3-4 days in the fridge. And every time we are making a curry, we just use that so that we don't have to start cooking from scratch every time. So
Mhm.
these are the little hacks that I use in my life at home, because otherwise, with kids at home, with a clinic to go to, with online clients that I have, and of course living in the age of social media, you have to make your presence there. It will get very,
Yes.
very difficult. My children will not get the variety that they want and they should get. So what I do is I make these little curry masalas, and they serve as the basis of the dish, right? And I don't have to bhuno the masala again and again. And some days I could quickly give them a chole or a rajma, let's say. Or sometimes I could just quickly, even if I'm making some kind of pizza sauce, I never buy the pizzas. I use that masala and add some oregano and some herbs to give it that kind of Italian flavor. And we could use the homemade chapatis or the millet rotis. Since they are thicker, they make it a good, great base. And children get a variety of things. Similarly, the other thing that we can do is that if we are running short of time in the morning and we feel that there is no time for me to make breakfast from scratch, and therefore I buy this package and I open and I pour the cereal, a lot of my busy professional moms, we always recommend that you make a little, extra roti or cook a little extra rice so that you can just stir fry that with vegetables in the morning and take that as tiffin, right? You could add peanuts for protein. You could add paneer on the side. You could add some peas or mixed veggies to make it fiber rich. And you could carry some katori mein curd with it so that it's a complete meal. So it need not be an elaborate meal. If you look at the components of a meal: carbohydrate, protein, fats, vitamin, minerals, and fiber, all this can also come together in a one pot meal. So if it's a pulao, you could just add some kala chana to the pulao. You could add some lots of vegetables to the pulao, and then you've got veggies, protein, and rice all in there. You can have that with buttermilk. You can have that with curd or raita. You could carry some salad on the side. So
Mhm.
it's not about, I think we need to also change the mindset that a meal is elaborate or I have to carry three tiffins and two mid meals. I mean, literally, you don't have to. You can always carry one mid meal as a fresh fruit. You could have the other mid meal in form of chana or roasted peanuts or maybe nuts and seeds in your drawer. So you're not even carrying those many dabbas, right? And curd, buttermilk is something that you could just pack in a flask. So it's nourishing, hydrating. If you have some person visiting your office who can deliver nariyal pani, you can have nariyal pani at times. You can have chaach or sattu at times. So all these options are there. Or maybe just simple shikanji, the nimbu pani, that we can really use instead of overdoing the chai coffee at work. So these are some of the things that we can use. And we can also make some extra rotis for dinner and use that as breakfast. So it's nothing about cooking from the scratch, because when you're buying stuff from outside, you don't even know when it was packed and, since how long has it been sitting in the shelf, right, before you bought it. So at least you know that you made the roti at home and there are no preservatives, there are no chemicals. You're just using it in the morning. So I think that's absolutely doable. We are not looking at anybody making every meal from the scratch, fresh 1 hour before it's to be eaten. We don't live in those kind of times. Otherwise, we can't really, achieve our dreams.
That's true.
So either we create a support structure at home who are, making food like that, but and train them well so that they just don't use too much oil or don't use too much fat and stuff. If that kind of stuff is doable, excellent, then you will get fresh meals. But as a busy professional, I don't think that there is a need to feel guilty or get overwhelmed. You just have to be a little smart. So when you do the meal preps, everything becomes easy, and you end up also serving variety to people and to family, and you're like, okay, when you look at the weekly chart, there's rajma, there's paneer, there's some vegetable, there's some pulao, there's some fried rice, there's some egg curry, so everybody's happy end of the day.
Yeah.
But it'll
When you
become
told,
smooth with practice. You might feel that it's easier said than done. Yes, I'm doing it currently, but it has taken me some years to reach this level of calling it effortless for me. So I think that will come with practice.
yeah. And I think one thing which I follow, maybe I can share that. So I do prepare a chart. So morning juice, the breakfast, then I have my snack for my son because he's just 3 now. And then we have something for lunch, snack, and then dinner. So
Yeah.
we have this. I just prepare the chart for a week and paste it on the fridge so that my staff, whoever
Super.
comes
Yeah.
home, she prepares that juice. She cuts those, like prepares that salad. She prepares the roti with any of the veggie like beetroot or aloo,
Wow.
carrot. She prepares something of that sort. So that actually helps us reduce, lots of this indulging in the other kind of food. Otherwise, we tend to open Swiggy or Zomato and then just order food, and we load up so much, and then our brains start shrinking. As I told, I used to eat lots of sweets sometimes, and then I remember the days when I used to eat pizza also, like Wednesday, Friday pizza. Like that time, something used to stick,
Crave. Yeah.
like
Ding
trigger in my
dong.
mind that okay, now I'm super stressful. I have to order pizza and have it. And then Friday again, this entire week had been so stressful. So let's have pizza. So instead of
Mm.
getting into that cravings, I think when we invest so much money in that processed food and the food products, so rather we can invest in getting a person who does things for us, and then we can start
Absolutely.
following that so that we can keep up our health and also the kids' health, keep up our health in a way that we are talking about the diabetes today. So I think
Yeah,
we'll
I
not
think
be
it's
prone to
very
that.
important that we don't look at ourselves as a one-woman army that I'll do everything. It
True.
is very important to create that kind of support structure.
Yeah.
And very beautifully, what you've said, I completely agree that you need to put in some effort to make your life effortless. So even if you're chalking out and training your support to, stick to that timetable, it makes life very, very easy.
Yeah.
But that
And I
initial
think,
bit of planning has to be invested
yeah.
in.
And I think it would not take much money and time because those are the basic things that anyone can do, and you don't need to spend so much time training them. Like I felt
And
that.
so there
And
could be different, models to this. Like in
true.
your case, you have somebody who's looking at the chart and preparing, right?
Yes.
In my case, being a health professional, nutritionist, I feel that I don't want to let go of the control of cooking and the taste and the
Yeah.
spices and the oil. So I have a support where, I have a person who comes and chops the
Yeah.
vegetables for me.
Same here.
That
Same here.
reduces the time gap. So I love to cook,
Same here.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think
That helps.
that's a big help.
Yeah, that's a big help. That's what in the morning, preparing a glass of juice. Either it's ashgord juice or some fruit juice, and chopping the vegetables and these things. If the basics are sorted,
Bilkul.
cooking would be very easy, like 20-30 minute task, not more than that. And when we do this and have everything ready in front of us, how much ever you try to open Swiggy or Zomato, when you have the right food, like having the rule. I have this rule at my home, very strict rule that have the healthy and then the junk. So once we have the healthy food, our tummy will be full and our mind will slowly calm down. So I have this
Exactly.
very strict rule. So I do follow this. And I think it's very important for every working woman to consider the small changes so that it's like investing on our own self rather than going and putting our money somewhere else. So it's an investment on our own self, and we need to definitely take up these suggestions which Madhavi had shared with us, having the plate, right, balanced plate, and the recipes which you have actually shared. So 5, 6 recipes which you have shared are very important, I feel. And that would actually serve at least 3, 4 days,
Easily.
right? So we can just jumble them here and there, and then we can definitely make full week chart and paste it on your fridge or somewhere, so that your mind will not divert or just travel across all the apps. Rather, you'll stick
Not
to
only
that.
divert and travel, I think many a times we are so mentally engaged with our professional lives and deadlines and commitments that to think again with, oh, aaj kya banana hai, kya le jana hai, that really then begins to bother us.
Yeah.
And we can't come up with options. So it's not that we don't have the energy to cook or maybe make, it's just that we don't want to think at that level.
Easy things, right? Everyone wants the easy things because of working so much. We tend to get the easy stuff. So I think these things definitely will help. And these basics, I think if we follow, these are the lifestyle changes. And as you also told, the mindfulness, it's very important. I've noticed that there are many people who started being mindful and little aware of their emotions, and get back that control, taking that responsibility of their own self. I think there are lots of things that can be changed when it comes to health, their overall well-being, I can say. So
Srinidhi, in my field, I also see a lot of clients that, yeah, they want to do the right diet, they want to stick to the plan. But many a times with their emotional issues or their stress issues, they take to emotional eating, right? And then it's something that they can't handle. So, why don't you also share some tips in which they can, if they are in an emotional state of distress or, work pressure or something, what are some handy tips that they can really do in that moment to not allow them to slip into this vicious cycle of emotional eating, or to stabilize their emotions in that moment?
okay, because I gave my example 6 years back, 7 years back, and even 3 years back sometimes. Like until I started feeding my son, I fed him for 2.5 years, like the breast milk, just for this reason, so that he eat healthy food, at least for him, not junk my body, and I don't indulge in that things. So I think have some specific purpose. In NLP, like I have gone through many of the things, and finally I came to a point where I practice NLP. And NLP is a super simple way through which people can master their health. And I do this one time activity, and people will be actually, their mind maps will be changing, their brain images would be changing, so that they would be sticking to that. And 21 days, 5 minutes or 3 minutes every day, practicing those things, like whichever we do, sit and do for 20 minutes every day for 21 days. If we just do those reading out some sentences, and it's an exercise basically. When we do that, people will definitely, do not fall into that trap. So that is one thing. The second thing, keep your environment clean and healthy, so that you don't overbrood on them. That is the biggest thing which I have learned and experienced in my life. And even my family, like they are experiencing they're having the good health just because of that one step, which I strongly believe. And uh, because in our environment, if there is a lot of junk, we automatically go there because of the triggers that we'll have in our brain as well, and the satisfaction that we get out of it, and we'll still want to have that, right? And once our tummy is full, we don't prefer going to the healthier food options. So the second thing is having the environment right. It could be tough in the initial days, but definitely it would help us get habituated with that. And third thing is address your emotions. Addressing your emotions whenever you're having that trigger, identify what is that time period or what is that emotion that is sprouting you to go and just have that food. That one emotion, if you start addressing that, I think, as I told, either through the regular life coaching or through the NLP or through some of the healing modalities that I do, it takes not more than 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes max based on the situation. But ideally, it takes for any person not more than 10 or 15 minutes to change those brain images and, come out of that zone. sometimes overthinking, sometimes stress, all those cater to this, right? So the third thing is working on that one specific emotion. If they are feeling stressful, they will be linking to that sweet. I used to be that person. If I'm super tensed, I go and have sweet. If I'm super angry, I'll just go and have some bhujia or something. We'll have to identify what are those emotions when I'm falling prey to that situation. So
That's very
identifying
important.
these things, and yoga is one another thing which had helped me so much. I started doing yoga, I think, from the age of 13. I have first learned it from my mom, who learned it from Gandhi Gyan Mandir. Second was I myself went to Ramakrishna Math. My father used to drop me around 4:30 in the morning. I used to
Wow.
love the personality development course there. I was the youngest person there, but I learned yoga from the teacher there, and it was really amazing experience for me. In fact, when we start doing yoga, we get that alignment, that balance
True.
uh, in whatever actions we do. And that's very important to start doing yoga, at least some kind of asana, Surya Namaskara. Just warm up your body for 3, 4, 5 minutes and do Surya Namaskara, at least 5, 6 rounds of Surya Namaskara. That opens up your body, your mind, your soul. And when you get that balance, you feel fresh and you don't fall into such things, right? When you are experiencing good things in your life, will you go and fall in the same keychard? No, right? So I think practicing yoga is also one such important thing, which I usually cover in the health mastery, which I told in the NLP aspect. So these things all will be covered in the NLP. That's the reason I told it in the first. It's super simple, but it's super powerful and profound, through which people can just change their habits in fraction of minutes. Right. So these are the things, Madhvi, which I really learned and experienced working on myself all these years.
Wow, super. I mean, these are basically the life skills, right? The more we
Yes.
learn and the more we practice, even if we don't see the impact in a day-to-day basis, but I personally have realized that when a particular situation comes, when we are in a crisis, then we realize that all these daily rituals, that I've been doing are now really helping me stay calm in that. So otherwise people would say, but why are you waking up at 4:30 and why are you doing meditation and all this? How does it help? You're still shouting at me. Yeah, my husband would say, but you're still, reacting. You're not responding. What is the use of this 4:30 ritual? Yeah, I mean, on that day, I might have just done this. But when there is a actual crisis or, something goes in the middle of my online session, if something happens, I personally feel that I'm not reacting the way I would earlier panic. I stay very, very calm and I'm like, okay, it's not in my hand. It's a technology thing. So I think that latent learning keeps happening with the daily practice. And then when you land up in a situation, all that learning, all the essence of it makes you in a position to respond better. So it's
Yeah.
important for everyone to practice those things on a regular basis.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And I think the emotions, when you told that shouting, sometimes I think it's very normal to
And
have the
sometimes
right
you need to
boundaries,
shout at your husband.
Yeah.
I think all working women will agree with me.
Especially
That's a
women
great
has
therapy.
women is multifaceted, right? She has all the kinds of goddesses in her. She is like Gauri, she is like Durga, she is like Kali, and all the goddesses are within her. And I think sometimes setting the right boundaries is also very important when it comes to food and also the mental aspect. And while we work on ourselves, not just on the food, but also the emotional aspects, as I told, when connecting one emotion to the habit that we are, falling into. So that helps us become emotionally resilient. And that is what I actually tell many women, that we will have to be really emotionally resilient so that we don't fall prey for whatever we see or whatever we tend to, because I've noticed this in my life in all the aspects. So finally I came to the word, this emotional resilience is like very close to my heart, that it helps you have the good health, good career, good wealth, and also the relationships.
True.
We'll understand what we need so that we don't brood over something, or we don't, just handling certain things while you're taking classes. I think that is all about resilience, right? That you have built
Absolutely.
over a period of time. That's you can bounce back to the situation. You can bounce back and make the things work after a few minutes. It could not be immediate, but you'll have that strength and power to bounce back and redo the things if you really need to. And you won't cry or you won't be in that victim mode. Rather, you will be like a warrior, and you'll have all that power, that strength, the courage, the clarity, confidence within you. So that's the reason I think every woman should work on their emotions, and all these areas would be falling into one nice place, and they can actually kids start role modeling their mothers, and that's the blessing, right? That's what every mother wants.
Absolutely.
So
So true.
that's what I work on also. So it's very important, I feel, that being emotionally resilient for any women.
And because I keep bringing back the gut aspect, because emotions or the mindset is very, very closely related to the gut. So even, I mean, we have these experiences, right? That, you're suddenly being called out to say something on the stage and you are nervous and you have these, good happening,
Yeah.
bubbles coming in the tummy. Or when you are feeling that, you're feeling romantic, you also have butterflies in your stomach. So, or it's the mind, and it's called the gut brain axis. So since I said earlier as well that पेट ही सभी बीमारियों की जड़ है, और आज की डेट में with our lifestyle, with our eating habits, with the so-called binge watching on Netflix and after midnight, all that has affected our gut. And I rarely see any person who doesn't have a gut issue. Bloating is something that when we talk about health assessment, bloating, acidity, constipation, even if the client has diabetes or thyroid and we are working on diabetes reversal or a thyroid reversal with them, the key foundation, the epicenter protocol that I follow is the gut reset. Because whether it is diabetes, as I said, it's because of inflammation. Whether it's thyroid, where, I'm currently doing this series on thyroid on Informed Health YouTube channel, where I explain to people that in the body, everything is very, very integrative, right? It's not that each organ is working in isolation in a watertight compartment. So even if it's a thyroid, the conversion of your inactive thyroid to active thyroid hormone is happening in the gut as well as in the liver. So if your gut is not healthy, then that means the conversion is compromised. There are so many nutrients that you need, the key micronutrients that play a very, very important role in the metabolic activities that happen in the body. But if your gut is not healthy, you are not even absorbing nutrients from that food.
True.
So people are living at such a surface level when they talk about, oh, increase the protein, have high protein diet. But my question to them is that, is your gut equipped to even digest, break down that protein and then absorb and assimilate it? Because, you are constantly bloated. You are coming and telling me dals don't suit me. Then how do you think protein powder or, chicken or fish will really work? So it is very important that no matter what condition you have diabetes, thyroid, PCOS, PMS, any kind of autoimmune condition, anything for that matter, you cannot ignore the gut. If you I have a very interesting story to share here, that one of the clients came to us for diabetes reversal. So as a diabetes reversal nutritionist, I was focusing on her diet from the perspective of diabetes, and of course using gut protocol, gut healing. And in 1.5 months, of course, her blood sugar levels began to drop, and doctors started, reducing the medication that she was on. And then I suggested to her in 2 months' time, I said, why don't you go get all your tests done once again? It's, your progress is commendable. So let's just see the internal parameters. And you won't believe it, she jumped with joy, not for the fact that her diabetes blood sugar levels were low. She jumped with joy because she said that she had been on medication for hypothyroidism for the past 21 years. And her hypothyroid condition actually reversed.
Wow.
So I, as a mentor to her, I mean, this is how I also learn, right? I mean, this also reaffirms and reiterates my faith in my philosophy and my protocols, because when you focus on your gut health, her thyroid was not even I was not even paying attention to the thyroid because I knew that she's on medication. We always prioritize the condition that we are looking at first. So diabetes is something that I was focusing big time on. And here we worked of course, her blood sugar levels from HbA1c of 13 point something came down to 7 point something in a 1.5 to 2 months, which is very, very good. But something that I was not even paying attention to, her thyroid reversed, which was, which re-emphasized for me, reiterated for me that you don't have to work at individual issues individually, that as it is in the kind of life that we lead, we are so busy that we can't be looking at thyroid के लिए कोरिएंडर पानी पीना है कि डायबिटीज के लिए मुझे हाई फाइबर खाना है, कैसे बनाऊं, कौन सा जूस डायबिटीज के लिए बनाना है, कौन सा थायराइड के लिए बनाना है, अभी पीएमएस हो गया, माइग्रेन्स शुरू हो गए, अभी क्या करूं. आई थिंक point blank, if you just focus on your gut health, you will begin to bring back the harmony in your body. So that is very, very important. Of course, I mean, I specialize in diabetes care and management, but I really love working on gut health for people, because it is something that you work on one aspect, and all the threads which are related to XYZ conditions are all originating from the gut. So when your gut is right, automatically at multiple levels, you are being healed, right? And you're saving time, you're saving effort, you're saving money. Because if you're
That's
not
true.
even working on the gut, you're just looking at the symptoms. And you might keep getting symptomatic relief, but if you're not attending to the root cause, your time and again, the symptoms keep coming back.
True, true. I think
So
that's very
that's,
important, and I have not studied on the gut, so it feels so interesting for me to learn more about it. And you have actually given the description, I mean, not the description, but the detailed overview of why the gut health is also very important. And it's like a point blank thing where we can focus on. And I really would love to make one another video on this gut health purely, so that anyone can actually start working on their health, so that it helps for their overall health, not specific for disease, one specific disease, but rather for their overall health.
yeah,
So
I think it is very important for everyone to understand that health management is not equal to disease management. So people these days are basically stuck in disease management.
true.
We are
I
not
think I
even
really
looking at
love
health.
this. I really
Yeah.
love this. Health management is not the disease management. I think this is very important. And if you like, maybe next week we'll just come up with this gut health thing, because I really would love to learn and also um, share that with other everyone, whoever is watching, so that they could learn and promote their family's health as well,
Oh, I'm
rather
so
than just
passionate
being.
about gut health.
Yeah,
I think I'll go on and on and on. Yeah.
I think I think we should definitely do that. And let's do it again the next week, and let's come back with the gut health reset and the mastery in the next video. And thank you so much, Madhavi, for actually sharing so many insights about the reasons how a person can actually change their lifestyle, not so in a different way, but the small steps that they can take in everyday life, so that they can come out of those diseases. And definitely health management is not the disease management. I really love this line. And with this, we'll again catch up next week for the gut health and the mastery of it. And thank you so much, Madhvi, for being here and spending good amount of time with me, sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Trinity. I literally loved it.
Thank you.